Today, we've got with us, give it up for George Schmidt. Thank you, George, for being here, please. George is a public speaking coach. I'll sit down. A public speaking coach, which we're honored to have him today. We're going to pick his brain about the techniques and the teachings that he does about public speaking, storytelling, etc. And myself, Hess Adnani, I'm the chapter director of Grind. And if you want to check this stuff out, storytelling.ico, and you can find my website as well, hessadnani.com. And special thanks to our team. We've got Poppy Olympia here. Take care of everything, making sure everything is organized by Yanis. Over there. He's taking care of our people here. And we've got Philip right there sitting forward. So if you later on want to talk to Philip about photography, feel free. He's really good. Should we start?
Yes. And people in YouTube, Zoom, right?
So, George, please tell our audience really quickly who you are and where you come from and why you're in Cyprus.
Why I'm in Cyprus. So, yeah, actually, I'm making a short speech. Go for it. Actually, why I'm here this evening. Should I tell it?
Yeah, sure.
So, 3 weeks ago, there was a beautiful beach party. And at this beach party, we had some drinks and some more drinks. And later on, Poppy told me, oh, I need to introduce you to a very interesting man. And she introduced me to Hess. And then we discussed a little bit, what are you doing here? Why are you in Cyprus? And then we talked about public speaking, storytelling, stage fright, and all this stuff. And then he told me, look, there's such a beautiful community like Startup Grind. Why you would not like to join us and do an evening together here in Larnaka? Yeah, that's the reason why I'm here. And why I'm in Cyprus?
Why in Cyprus? What have you done so far?
Yeah.
Where have you been?
So actually, why, maybe you might ask yourself, why are you doing this kind of public speaking? The thing is that when I was young, I started already in the year 1982 with public speaking. And you might ask yourself, why somebody is doing public speaking at the age of 10? Because at that time I had a stuttering problem. That means I really could not speak. And because of that, I had to come over this challenge. So I started at that time with a book, it was called Der kleine Hai, the small hay, which was a professional training book for speakers, actors, and singers. But I was 10 years old. Anyway, so this was the start. And the funny thing is, 2 years ago, I did a professional speaker training. And when I signed up for that speaker training, they told me, you know what, we have a very professional book you need to buy for this training. It is called Der kleine Hai, the small hay. He said, hey, this is this book I used for overcoming stuttering 40 years ago, yeah. So it was really fun, this transformational journey. And yeah, and the thing is really that you're on that way. In 2004, I joined speaking clubs when I overcame the stuttering more or less. I thought, let's go on stage. In 2004, I joined Toastmasters, an international speaking organization. And it was so much fun that in 2008, I even founded a speaking club in China, in Shanghai. At that time, I was at a company, SAP. And this club is still alive and running today. And then one funny thing was, I think it was in 2013, suddenly I got the opportunity to open the National Russian Speaking Conference with the motivational keynote speech. So it sounds great, yeah? But the thing is, how did this happen? It was actually like, I met the organizer and I said, yeah, it's nice, come to Moscow, it's cool. 3 weeks later she told me, George, would you like to do a speech? I said, yeah, I can do a speech. Yeah, the opening speech. I said, yeah, I can do that. Later on I said, oh fuck, now I have to do the opening speech. But this is how you grow. Yeah? You just go, you do, and yeah. And so this was my way.
Did you do it in Russian? Did you do it in Russian?
No, in English. It was in Moscow, and it was in English. And yeah, so that's my way. And since a few years, I'm doing public speaking, stage fright, and sales speech training. And I have a lot of fun with it. And so that's the reason why I'm here. Thank you for inviting me. It's a nice occasion, and thank you that you are here.
Thank you, George. So, through the events that we run, we use Slido. If you haven't used it before, either scan that hashtag up there or go to slido.com and put as a hashtag SGCY. And please do, because I will be putting questions on Slido, and it would be nice to have your feedback and your answers, and then we're going to announce the result of the answers through Slido. So even for the people online, watching us online, please go to slido.com, and the hashtag is SGCY. Start with CY, SGCY. And our first question is, Poppy?
Are you doing it?
I don't know.
How did you hear about this event?
So how did you hear about this event? This is our first question through Slido. Please go to slido.com, SGCY, answer it, and then we're going to announce it later. This question, we took it just for our marketing department to see where we're getting the people from. But anyway, so usually when I start my events, I ask the same question to all my guests, but most of the people that I bring on stage they're more startup founders and business founders and all that. I know that you've started, you're a public speaking coach, business, and you're running it as well. So I will make the question a bit edited and revised for us. So my question before usually was, what was your first entrepreneurial experience in your life? But I will change it in a way, what was your first public speaking experience in your life? What was the first time you went on stage and what happened?
My first public speaking. Okay. It was not 2020. It was in 1991 when I did my civil service in Germany. I had the civil service. So I did emergency and rescue stuff. And afterwards, I did first aid classes. So actually, this was my first workshop in front of people. And even at that time, I still had the stuttering. It was still there. So I was explaining them how to do the heart massage and all this stuff. Yeah, so this was 1991.
Did you get afraid when you went on stage, or you were?
At that time, I was still nervous, actually. Sure.
And you handled it well with it?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Nobody died, yeah.
Nobody died. So I did a little bit of research on your LinkedIn, and obviously you were in the corporate world, business world, consulting, or that, or you might still be. But then you decided to move towards helping people with public speaking. How did you come up with that decision? Why did you decide to help people with public speaking?
Good question. It has something to do with values, The thing is, I'm now 50, yeah? So that means, should I continue 5, 6, 7, 8 years with the current job and not doing what I wanted to do? And it's as well something of wasting time, losing time. It's not wasting time. I had a really good time in the corporate business. It was really, really good. But now was this moment to say, I want to have a cut, a break from this and doing something new. And to be honest, looking back, public speaking was my life. Yeah. So
you decided to follow what's been in your life and your kind of your dream. Very nice. And how did you feel when you went through that transition? What is the difference between working on something you really, really love than just a business?
For sure, on the first moment there are doubts. Doubts like, look, can I do that? Maybe every startup founder has this. So can I be successful with this new topic, what I want to do? I go into full risk with this. Should I really skip this old job, which is secure, but maybe not what you want to do? So yeah, as well, doubts have been there, sure.
Okay. And did you have, like, usually when startup founders they start their companies, usually there's this era that's called valley of death, which startups start really strong and then they kind of do that phase, which is like, you know, things are not working and people like, the hype is gone. Did you go through that, or was it all?
No, it was like a roller coaster. That means as well, like thinking about to quit the job, to do it full time, and then I think, but no, I will continue and only will do it part time, and all these things. So
Excellent.
it's a roller coaster.
Is it still a roller coaster?
Yeah, it's right.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
So, we're going to change the Slido question. Let's see, what was the highest answer out of the last question?
From a friend.
From a friend. So most of you are here referred from a friend. So the next question we're going to put up is,
How confident do you feel on stage?
how confident do you feel on stage? And we've got multiple choice questions. Go for it, and then after this section, we're going to see the results. So, just to give a fact, the top 3 fears of human, most fear things in human life, is fear of heights, fear of flying, and then fear of public speaking. And public speaking is number 2 on the list. And fear of death is number 6. So why do you think us humans fear public speaking? Why is it that public speaking fear is number 2 on the list?
The science says it has to do with evolutionary programming. Because 10,000 years ago, the people lived in communities. And you need this community to be safe. And if one person goes out of this community, for example, like here, we are now in a community, and now I go out of this community and I say something 10,000 years ago. It could happen that the community says, no, that's not good, you are out. You will be kicked out of this community. And this is the reason why science says, even today, in 2022, we still have this theory in our body. That means nothing can happen. We can go on the stage, we fail completely, nothing will happen. But we have still this pattern that it's the fear to be rejected. And this fear of being rejected is the reason why people have stage fright.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's kind of both within our DNA, from our ancestors, and built up from the pressure of the society. That's excellent. And obviously you help people with stage fright. Well, what are some techniques that people can use in order to be more, to not have this fear on stage?
So maybe one explanation why we have this, or what means stage fright. So it means like people have maybe shivering hands, or are sweating, or have heartbeat, yeah, whatever. So you're nervous, red face, all these things can happen when you're on stage and you're nervous. And they say, we have Sabas here, who is a medical doctor, maybe he can say if it's true. They say the body has this nervous system, autonomous nervous system, which has the sympathicus and the parasympathicus. And when the stage fright comes, this sympathicus is running full. That means everything what we feel is from this active sympathicus. And what we can do is to activate the parasympathicus, the other part of this autonomous nervous system. And this we can do, for example, with breathing techniques. There are so many breathing techniques. For example, when the symbols is just inhale normal and exhale very slow and very long.
Can we do it together? All together?
Yeah, can we do it for example?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Lead us.
On 3, yeah. 1, 2, 3, we inhale. 1, 2, 3, and exhaling very slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this we do like 3 minutes. have to go on stage somewhere, do a walk, go to the toilet, and do breathing. And then you come back, and Buddha. Yeah, and there are so many breathing techniques. There are so many breathing techniques. Actually, they are like, for example, which is fun. Who of you would think breathing techniques is nothing for strong men? Okay, nobody. Okay, fine. But some people think about that. And to be honest, there's one thing. You know these Navy SEALs. That means this is this very tough soldier unit in the United States. And these Navy SEAL soldiers, they have a very strong training on breathing techniques. And they call it the box breathing technique. And the reason for them to have the box breathing technique is to be in every moment fully focused, whatever happens. And this breathing technique is a little bit different. It works like inhale, pause, exhale, pause, inhale. So you have like 4 quarters, and this you can do, like for example, with 2 seconds, 3 seconds, or if you're running, even with 1 second. Yeah, so that means, and this means that you are, if you look on these breathing techniques, you are only 1 quarter inhaling, 2 quarters you are stop breathing, and 1 quarter you are exhaling. And the thing what all of these breathing techniques have is that you focus on the exhaling and on the not breathing. And this brings you down. If you focus on the inhaling, then you get nervous and then all this shit happens. Yeah. So this is actually this is one of the reasons that breathing techniques are really helpful to climb down.
So the cause, as I understood, is that it's from breathing, inhaling too much. And what does that do to the body? Like first inhaling too much, and second if we use the breathing techniques. Is there a chemical?
Yeah, it has to do as well with the CO2. Some people think as well it has to do with the oxygen. Because one thing, if we inhale oxygen, but if we don't exhale enough, we don't bring enough CO2 out. That means all the CO2 stays in, yeah? So then I have too much oxygen in my body, and as well too much CO2, and as well this has to go out. Yeah.
I see. Obviously, I have some question here prepared, but this is a very improvised talk, so I'm just going to jump between topics. I had this.
Which is actually true. I have no idea what you are asking. Yeah,
and it's very
no idea.
I never send to anyone any questions, but they're very natural. They're in your expertise. So I was going to talk about this at the end of the talk, but this because I merged breathing techniques with voice training. And you had in your brochure that I checked, voice melody and conscious use of voice.
Yes.
What are they? What is voice melody and conscious use of voice?
Okay. I just, we have a question.
Your microphone is not working very well.
Lower.
No, it's not working at all.
No.
One, two. You know what? I just need to go over to that bottle of wine.
No,
it is very important for us. Sure. 1 second, I come back. I don't drink the wine. Coke is very important. Oh, everybody should always have a Coke. You know why?
Why?
We're talking about this voice and breathing techniques. Thing is, imagine you have a sales pitch on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. The weekend was strong. The hangover is not yet gone. You're super tired. And then it's 7:45. And you know, this sales pitch is really important. And then, for example, you can do this so-called cork exercise. The cork exercise is, who knows the cork exercise? One person. That's good, not everybody. And the thing is, in that morning, maybe you talk like this, oh yeah, I'm really not really awake and I don't know, so your articulation is not so good. And it looks a little bit silly, but that means when you put the cork in the mouth and do then 1 minute pronunciation, and the funny thing is, in the moment you put the cork out of the mouth, you have an articulation like hell. This is beautiful. For example, in the morning it's 7:45. You do the cork. You do the cork and say,
I didn't want to.
good morning, welcome, and it's always good to have a cork in the mouth when the camera is here, and these pictures might be later on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever, yeah? And it's so funny, and sing it in the moment you then put out this. You have a very clear articulation. It's so good, and that means it's really quality. Imagine it's 7:45 and you're talking like this, and then you say, good morning, welcome. I'm really happy that you're here and that I can convince you this morning to buy my product. Yeah. So that is a really good thing. And what will happen with the cork exercise? Imagine your level of articulation is here. You want to reach this level, really. With the cork exercise, you do this exercise. It's so hard, so strong with the cork. And then you put out the cork, and then you're here. And this is really good exercise in the morning. And another thing, maybe we should continue with this. Yeah? How are you doing? So it will be funny for you, and maybe, yeah.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to watch the recording and cut on a minute before the call, and then after, and make the difference. What about the tongue? But the tongue is
No,
it's just,
you just do it for articulation. What you can do as well, for example, I did in my speaker training, when professional singers start in the morning, there are many exercises, but you can just do like, you know this, that you just make the sound M. Maybe you can do that now, it's a little bit silly, but let's do it.
Can we do it?
Can you feel that on these lips there is a small tickling? And this is the best relaxation exercise for the lips. The next thing is that you want to have your so-called, I don't know what's indifferent tone. That means your natural tone. That means you come to the stage and say, good morning, hello. This is too high. Hello, good morning. Yeah. If you speak like this, you will be, your voice will go very soon. That means it's very important that you have your natural tone. And the thing is, how you can get your natural tone? It's like, you know, when you call to somebody and it's really annoying. And if you make this kind of sound, this brings you to the natural tone. Or if you eat something really nice, like fruit, you know, these exercises bring you to the natural tone. And then if you do again this yawning, so yawning, right? After that, you have your natural voice. So this is really good. And for the lips, the last one is maybe.
I do that when I'm frustrated.
It's always good in front of the camera. But look, that means it costs you like 3 to 4 minutes. A little bit the cork, a little bit like flattering with the lips, a little bit yawning, and so on. And then you're fully prepared at Monday morning, 8 o'clock for a good sales pitch. And this is what even the professional speakers do.
Excellent. I'll definitely do that. Especially
I think there's another thing you could do. You could go somewhere with a cigar, similar to a cork, and still look
Like
nice
this.
better.
But
With a cigar.
With a cigar.
With a cigar.
Similar to, but if you got a cigar, nobody knows you got a weird cork in your mouth. You got a cigar.
Good point. Good point.
Any ideas? How can we operate this? So, let's change the question to question 3 and see the results of the previous one. So the question was, how, I think it was like, how experienced are you with public speaking?
How confident do you feel
How
on stage?
confident you feel on stage, and the answer is
35% for neutral and 35% for slightly uncomfortable.
slightly uncomfortable.
So,
Okay, at the last one I put a little joke in. Anyone answer the last one?
no. 6%.
6%.
Probably I will pass out the same.
Probably I'll pass out on stage. So let's go to the next question on Slido. Again, slido.com, SGCY. And the question is,
Have you ever done training with a public speaking coach?
have you ever done training with a public speaking coach? So let's go to that question and we move on. So what do you think is the number one mistake people do when they do public speaking from your experience?
It depends. There can be two things. One is like a mistake in terms of talking, and the other thing is in terms of what you talk about. Maybe I can start with this, then we come to the storytelling, because we are here in the startup Grind area. I think the point is when you do a sales pitch, and then you are so excited about your product, about yourself, and about your company, then maybe the audience, you say, yeah, but what's in it for me? You're all sitting there when you hear a pitch, and you ask yourself, do I waste my time? What's in it for me? What do I get from the guy on the stage? And I think this is one of the most important things that you switch in the storytelling. We say it is the hero's journey. And in old times, sometimes the hero is like, look, we have such a good product. We did like 10 years research, and it's the best product, and blah, 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 blah. And we have good standards in our company. And then they just talk about themselves. But what you should do in the storytelling is like, which problem I solve for you. That means you're sitting in the beginning in the situation, and I'm as in a sales pitch. I go, okay, I see you where you are, and I understand your problem, and I want to be the mentor who guides you on the process, and later on I bring you to the final result that you are the hero of your own story. And this is the magic point, that not the product or whatever is the hero of the journey, but always the customer. The customer should be the hero of the journey, and we should do a sales pitch in terms of, we are the mentor, we have a plan, we know exactly how to help you, that in the end you are successful on your own journey.
That's very interesting, because it's very relatable to sometimes when I do mentorship to startup founders and how they create their product offers and business offers, is that usually the founders, especially the first-time founders, startup founders, they create products around features they like, and they explain their startups and product as in the features the startup or the product or the software, whatever they're doing, what features it has. But when I do mentorship with them, I always align them to a way that you always have to think about the benefits of your company, your startup. So your product is not only about the features, it's about what benefit it brings to your customers. And when you want to go for marketing your product, running your marketing campaign, the messages that you should use for your company needs to be benefit oriented. Meaning, I always use this example, if you're selling an umbrella, usually what companies do, I mean, it's a very cliche example, simple. Usually what companies do is like, the umbrella is yellow, the handle is made out of wood, it's comfortable to open it, but it's not. What benefit does the umbrella bring? It covers your body from getting wet. So instead of doing that, this umbrella is 100% guaranteed that it keep you dry. This is a benefit-oriented way of pitching rather than feature-based. So very good common ground found here. And let's say you get a new. Yes. You want to say something?
Maybe this was just from the topic what you could talk about. But maybe another mistake when you do public speaking is like, and all this stage fright that you think about. It's not about you. Imagine I come to stage, so I'm nervous here, like, how I look like. Hopefully today I have a good performance. Yeah, so that means you're focused on yourself. And this as well gives stress and all that stuff. When you focus only on your message, that means you come to stage and say, today, my goal is that the audience gets my point. That when I'm ready, I want to see the light in your eyes that you got the point and you go out and you do something with the message I gave you. Yeah? And if you're focused only on the audience, then all this stage fright stuff goes significantly down, because for you it's very clear, it's not about me, it's not about yourself. It's only about the message, the audience, that I bring my message, what I prepared to you. Yeah? And if you, it's just a mindset thing.
Excellent. And let's imagine that you just got a client for your public speaking coaching services. You just got a client. What would be the first step that you work with that client? What is the first step? What's the first practice that you do with the client?
As well, it depends. So the question is, what is your current situation? For example, there is a client who says, look, I have 6 weeks time, and then I have to speak in front of 400 people and doing my sales pitch. So then this person has, okay, 6 weeks time, and it's very clear what to do. That means then to start, okay, do you have already your concept? Like, yeah, I have the best product or company, and what I told them, I said, yeah, maybe we should look into storytelling and say, do you know already who's your audience? Who are these 400 people? Do you know something about them? Yeah, these are all engineers. They have all a technical background. That's good, yeah? So to check, who's the audience for? No, these are all sales guys. If I have 400 sales guys, they're sitting and they start, the customizing. If you go into the customizing and then you click 7 times here and 5 times there, then you're out. You're completely out. That means if you have like sales guys, you need to tell stories. Yeah, they say, look, I have a nice story. You can easily remember, and even tomorrow evening after the second beer, you can use this story and sell it. So checking who is the audience, and then what would be this I think is the most important thing. If you do a speech, what is the transformation process you can offer? Is this clear? That means you go out, you do a speech, but you can really see sometimes there are people who do a speech and they don't know what is the transformation process. Where is the audience in the beginning of the speech, and where should the audience be in the end of the speech? Yeah. So what we do now here, for example, today, it's very clear that in the end you should know a little bit more about public speaking, stage fright, and so on. So this is actually the target, and for let's say everybody something else is maybe interesting, yeah. But if you don't have your transformational journey clear, then you have a problem. So you should work on that, write it down, and so on. And then later, for sure, do training, like asking, does the person has like stage fright topics? We go into stage fright, and then we do like rehearsal. For example, some people have never done a talk in front of 400 people. So one day is always the first time, and then you can do that, yeah? And try. For example, imagine you would go. It's a very nice exercise. We are in Larnaka. We have a beach here which is called Finiculudes. Imagine you go to the Finiculudes beach and there's a bench, and then you go at noon on this bench and you talk about something silly, something, and really, yeah, you talk. I think like all the children should have, I don't know, 3 toys, whatever, yeah, something like that. And
randomly.
And the thing is, what you do, this exercise is really good, because it's very clear that you do something where you will be maybe rejected, or people say, who is this guy? Is he silly? What is he doing? But this is a good exercise. So actually maybe we can just do that. The next days we send all our Canadian students on the bench and do some.
So if you see me tomorrow, I'm just randomly talking about birds and flowers. So let me merge two questions together. First of all, how long usually does it take for people to up their game in public speaking? And let's talk about a little bit of storytelling as well. Is there a technique that someone can story tell? Is there a way that you can organize your thoughts and mind to tell a story?
Storytelling, storytelling. Who knows what is the oldest storytelling history? Story,
The cave drawing. The cave drawings.
1001 Night.
It is like 3,000 years old. It is Homer's Odyssey. And actually, this whole thing, people even don't know if this guy Homer was living and if he was really writing this, but everybody knows this Odyssey, where the king, after the war of Troy, the king on the ship went like 7 years around the world. And this was already the first concept of storytelling. So it's nothing new, it's completely old. And then there was in 1949, there was an American guy who was called Joseph Campbell. And this guy, he was a professor for mythology. And he wrote like all these concepts together. And he was more or less a guy who created, he invented this hero's journey. And this is what we use today for storytelling, the hero's journey. And then the funny thing is, at that time it was only for a niche public, for a niche audience. But then there was in 1970 this guy, George Lucas. Who knows George Lucas? Okay, so that means George Lucas. The guy who was the director of Star Wars. He went in 1970 to this professor, Joseph Campbell, and said, hey, I heard you wrote that book. Can you explain me this storytelling concept? And because of that, the Star Wars movie 1 was like it was. And this was like then the role model for many more movies. And that was the moment when storytelling, really, this hero's journey came all into these movies. And this was like from the 70s. And the latest transformation is that if you think about, who knows this hero's journey? The whole concept. Okay, a lot. So very short wrap up. Imagine there is this hobbit, the hobbit. There is this hobbit, the guy who is in his ordinary world. That means in every movie we see where the people or our customers, we see our customers are in their day-to-day business. One day, a mentor comes. In the Hobbit stuff, it's Gandalf. He knocks on the door. He's the mentor. And in our story, we should be the mentor for our clients because we have a plan. So Gandalf knocked on the door and says, hey, Hobbit, we have a problem. You have to help. But I'm your mentor and I have a plan. And this is really important in the storytelling, the hero's journey. The mentor has a plan. And then the client, the customer, says, okay, I trust you, you have a plan, I follow you. And then this is the moment when all these movies take like 60 to 90 minutes, So like all ups and downs, fights and whatever, until we come to the final showdown. In our startup world, it means that we solve the problem for our customer. And in the end, we go back, customer is happy, and so on. So this is like this hero's journey. And when we do now a sales pitch, we should think about this concept, like always having in mind, when I do my sales pitch, for example, when I stand here, like in the beginning, I explained something like, look, since 1982, I'm in public speaking. if you watch now to the hero's journey, it means for the audience, it's like why this guy on stage is a guy who has really the authority, the knowledge about public speaking. Because he tells me now he's doing this since 40 years. Okay, seems to be that he knows something about that. So that means when you do your sales pitch as well, you should slightly explain that you're the expert. You're the expert. And you have a plan. And then you explain the story and bring the customer to the solution.
If you, this is the hero's journey is highly integrated into marketing and advertising and sales. And there's a guy called Russell Brunson.
I know that, yeah.
He has a book and he says also hero's journey can be, he said authority can be used for trust building as well. So if you're a salesperson and if you want to show to somebody that you have a solution to their problem because you have the same problem and tell your hero's journey story, then you create that trust and close the deal.
Yeah.
And there's a little twist he says in there as well is there's another version of the hero story that at the beginning the guy, the character had it all, lost it all, and then gradually with a mentor came back or even went higher than where he was. Like most of the Hollywood movies also go through that. So I had this question in my mind when I was writing the question. Does gender play a role in how good you are at public speaking? Do you feel that gender, male, female?
No.
Sorry, help.
Interesting question. No, I think it is the only thing that matters is authenticity. Imagine, look, I come here with the suit, yeah, really nice clothes, and I talk like this. And in the end, you say like, I didn't get a connection to this guy, yeah? He had a nice suit, but I didn't get a connection. So, imagine I come here with the carnival rabbit. Hey guys, yeah! It looks maybe completely crazy. But you've got a connection to the person, yeah? And then the connection is that what matters, and not the gender or the clothes or.
My question was like, because different genders, right? I mean, they go through society differently. Does that affect their, let's say, stage fright or skills? That's what
Okay. I think I didn't get really the question. So gender means, for example, we have some countries in the world where men and women are not yet equal. Yeah? For example, when we are, for example, in Saudi Arabia, and there is a sales pitch of a girl, might be completely different than a sales pitch of a man. Yeah? But I think in the area we are here now, it's not a topic anymore. Yeah? So what's this?
Can I clarify something? Because now, in the 21st century, there are other genders. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's a fact.
Yeah.
There are people who identify as non-binary or they don't want to define themselves, so they have a different experience in the world. And I understand as a cis white man, you have a different experience than, let's say, a trans man who is black. So I guess that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that what
I just wanted to understand the society's conditioning affecting public speaking. But what you just said, it depends on the country, on the location of the world as well, how.
But look, let's go to that point. I really like it. A black transgender person, yeah. You know all these kind of TED Talks, yeah? The TED Talks. So this is like this 18 minutes, it's always 18 minutes. And yeah, because there is a scientific rule that says, look, after 18 minutes, the people are not yet focused anymore. But imagine this guy comes in a TED Talk on the stage, that means he's black, transgender, whatever. And he comes on the stage, and then he explained his story. Like, you know what? 20 years ago, when I was in my country in Africa, I found out that I have a different sexual orientation. I could not explain to anybody because they would have killed me. And then one day I decided I have to go out of this country. And I went to London. And in London, and so on, he tells his own story. The first thing what happens is there will be an emotional connection. You see the guy 20 years ago in Africa, and it was a super dangerous time for him. And then he transformed, and as well as the storyteller, you see the transformation process until maybe today in London, he's a mentor or teacher for transgender people who want to overcome this society stress. Yeah. So imagine this guy is doing this speech. You are connected, or meaning you say yes. This is really a nice story. So therefore, I would say, coming back to your question, it depends how good is your story on stage, and then it doesn't matter whatever situation you have. Yeah. There's one guy, you know, maybe you noticed there is a person who has no arms and no legs. This is, yeah, what's the name? Vukovic. This is the worst thing he can't do anything. And so he has the microphone, and then he's like jumping on stage and saying, look, I'm happy. Yeah, and you say, how can you be happy? And you cannot drink, whatever. Yeah. So, and this is like, I think it's like a happiness coach or whatever. So that means actually, if you have a good story, if you are authentic with your own story, then you can catch the audience.
So,
Can I add some
we can do.
Yes,
There's a microphone.
We have microphone, yeah.
It's coming up.
I can go to the stage if you want.
We'll practice public speaking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's fine.
Great. Really, question about that is like.
Yeah, the
Take
microphone.
it.
Take the microphone.
Microphone, come here.
Yes.
And also come here as well.
Oh, hello, yeah, you can hear me.
Please
Great.
stay.
I want to ask a question about that, and especially when it comes to something more that's more in the business section. Okay. Now, is it that people actually want to hear the personal story of the business, or like develop a story of a business, how you overcome certain struggles and things like that, or do they actually want to have a connection with you in person, especially when it comes to things like the transgender thing or the queer thing? I think that's what you addressed. I have one big question is, if I'm on stage and I want to present an idea, a business concept, how it might change the world and things like that, especially if my business is not connected with this identity. Now, of course, when you are a coach that is maybe specializing, or a therapist that is specializing in the transgender people, maybe that's something I could understand that might be very, very interesting for the audience. But when it comes to like a business idea, do people really want to hear about my sexual identity or what happened 15 years ago?
I think that
Why didn't people get the point? Sorry, if I didn't get the intent of the question of the speaker.
From what I understood, you're asking if your business doesn't relate to your own identity, and if you want to pitch that business, do you tell a story about, how do you tell a story, or do you tell a story about the business or the personal experience?
Yeah, something like that. Yes. It doesn't even matter in this situation. Do people actually want to know me or the business?
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, I think when you do a sales pitch, then it should be business related. But what you can always do is, for example, start with a personal story, why you are now on stage and why you are pitching. For example, you are the founder of a company and you have maybe a physical product, whatever, let's say here it is, I should not touch it. The fire extinguisher. So you invented a very good fire extinguisher. So, and you make a pitch that you need to collect money. Then you could start with a personal story. You say, you know what? 10 years ago, there was this horrible accident. And I had at that time, I catched it, and this fucking thing didn't work. And this was the reason that my whole house, everything was gone. So you start with a dramatic situation, and this was the moment when I decided I need to develop this product, that this will never ever happen. So then you have a personal story with a product. So actually you can say it's a fire extinguisher, it's a neutral thing, yeah? But you can even talk to everything what you want to pitch. What was your story that you are now here? Is this maybe an answer to your question, or is it? Yeah. Thank you.
This is what they do on Shark Tank as well. On Shark Tank, Shark Tank, just when they pitch in front of the sharks.
Yeah.
Is like the way you just said it exactly is. I felt like it on Shark Tank. And you were about to say like, hey sharks. Yeah. So the last question I have from this section is about body language, which is really important, obviously, on stage. Let's open that conversation up. What do you have for body language on stage?
So, just a little bit, imagine you have the situation that you have this kind of microphone here, and you have your notes. Do you think that this is a good situation to have a very vivid body language? No, cannot. Because that means I would always recommend, sometimes you only have this kind of microphone. Then don't do anything else, like with your cards and whatever. If you have the chance, like we have today, that we have these kind of microphones, I always would prefer this, because if you have your hands, it is more vivid, yeah? You can show something, look from here, you go to there, yeah, and whatever. And so, imagine when the whole time I'm standing here, do a very nice speech, yeah, and say, hello, yeah, nice, and this is like not natural, yeah? And they say that the sweet spot for the hands is like from here to here. This is more or less the area where you move with your hands, whatever. But as well, do speeches and just watch how your body language is. If you have it, or if you don't have it, yeah, that you're always like standing like this, yeah, so body language is good because it's natural, yeah, and if you don't have it, you should work on it, yeah.
There was a TED Talk, I think, about hand gestures as well. Like you have those palms up, you have it down, like not pointing fingers, and all these things with your interest about hand gestures as well. Right, so let's go to the next question of Slido. Let's get the result for the previous one. The question was, have you ever had a public speaking coach?
Yeah.
And the results?
56% says no, but I want to have a coach.
56% says no, but I have to want. I want to have it. Right, and the next question is?
Will you be practicing on your voice when you go home?
Will you be practicing on your voice when you go home? But this question was for the topic we talked about, the switch there. So, will you do that? Let's have your answers later. Let's move on towards more business and idea and sales pitch, right? How should someone pitch in front of investors? I know you covered a little bit about the storytelling, the hero's journey, the body language, we're putting it all together. But what is it that investors want to hear? Body language.
I think the first question is, what do you need? Do you need money? Do you need support? Somebody who is opening the doors? Whatever. So this should be really clear. And then, depending on that, for example, if it's about money, then for sure you need to make your story that the investor says, okay, there will be a return on investment, there will be growth, the risk is quite okay, so you should focus on this. But if you need something else than money, it depends. So the question is, what do you want to pitch, and what do you need from the people? And then to check, who are these guys? Yeah.
Is it good to do a background check?
Yeah, who are these guys? So, yeah, for example, imagine there is there is one investor, you know, that he is supporting children in Africa. The other investor is maybe nature-oriented guy. So it means if you know a little bit about the investors, maybe you have a connection with your product, with your sales pitch, with what you need to the thing they are focused on. Yeah?
And is there a format that you suggest to clients? I mean, obviously in the startup world, there's an elevator pitch that is less than a minute, and it actually has a format like my product is this for this client doing this, or like a cherry on top as a special sauce at the end. Is there a format that you recommend, or is it just be natural?
It depends. So actually, this is storytelling. There's a so-called this storytelling sales pitch, and the storytelling sales pitch follows always the structure. Once upon a time, that means 5 years ago. Then you can make a connection to the audience that you say, this was when I got the idea, and because of that, is a very important thing. Once upon a time, then because of that, I developed this, and so on. Yeah? And you should follow this structure and have very clear in mind what's in it for me. The investor who is there is asking what's in it for me. Can you provide the answer what's in it for me, or why I should go into that? And there's, for example, a pitching method like from the bad to the good. This is what we did now. Like, look, one day there was this fire, and that was bad, and that was the reason why I developed this new fire extinguisher, or whatever. It means you can always think, was there a bad situation? And because of that, I have now my new service, product, whatever, and I'm really convinced that this product or service will solve a problem, and this is why it should be interesting for the investors and for other clients. Yeah? But the thing is, do you have that? Can you write it down? Yeah? Or is it just it's a nice idea, but do you have the facts clear? What is the solution?
So care about the audience more than what you mentioned. That makes sense. Let's say if someone starts working on public speaking, idea pitching, breath work, what else did we talk about? Body language, storytelling. How do you think their communication with other people in the general life, in daily life changes? Is there, have you seen people that you work with that they came back to you and said, oh, by the way, with the skills that you taught me, now even with my family I can do this.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Look, imagine you can do storytelling everywhere. If you are a couple and you're talking about should we go in the summer vacation to the sea or to the mountains, you can use as well storytelling. Why, for example, you think going to the sea would be a good idea. Yeah? So you can actually use it in many situations. But then it's maybe as well as important for the sales pitches and everything. Make your concept. That means that you have a paper. You write down who is my customer and what is the problem of my customer. And it's not easy. That means problem means what is the internal, the external, and the philosophical problem.